Welcome back to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. As you can see, the setup a little bit different today. We're trying something out. I have here Danny Lau and Matt Special with me to kind of start out this pilot project here. And it was a perfect opportunity. I have Danny Lau here with me, who is a professional videographer, worked with Glory, Invicta, so is really well known in the fight game, has been doing my YouTube channel from the beginning, so it's nice to have him on. He has the time, so this is our perfect opportunity to create something like this. And again, I have Matt Special with me, one of my fighters. Actually, if you look back at a lot of my old fights in Glory, you'll see him in the corner. No beard before, now he's got a big beard, and he's also our team nutritionist, and this is why I really wanted to bring him on, is just to give some insights on how nutrition is done. He was with me in Vegas with Malcolm Gordon, and he did all of Malcolm's 8-week camp, and just want him to talk about some of the different ways when you get to your fights, how do you cut weight? Everything's different. Everyone has different protocols, but we're just going to discuss some of the things, Matt likes to use and kind of contrast it back to when I was cutting weight and the old school mentalities and kind of just flow off something like that. Because I think that's a topic I feel people need more information on. And it's surprising to me that so many people don't know how to cut weight. Being at UFC's, and different Glory events, I've even realized that guys with hundreds of professional fights don't know a proper way to cut the weight and, more importantly, rehydrate properly. So hopefully Matt will give us some good insight on that. But the first thing I wanted to discuss while I have the guys here was my trip to the UFC with Malcolm. It was a tough little trip for us. I mean, we didn't really get the opportunity to showcase how good we are, and we got finished early. We fought a Tibetan fighter who... Sue Mujeri, I believe the name is, Sue Mujeri, and just a talented young kid, southpaw striker, and the plan was to really close the distance, but unfortunately we got caught early on in the fight. Didn't go as we planned, but training was amazing for it, and I think that's where the frustration is. But part of my rant today is talking about how the experience that these guys had, especially Malcolm, differed from when I cornered, and I've seen it in the past. I've coached other Canadian fighters in the UFC, like Mitch Gagnon, Antonio Carvalho. So being with them and now here with Malcolm during this COVID time, there's been such a big difference on how the experience is. And to me, I feel like this COVID time and the new guys coming in, they're not getting that experience that they should be getting. When you get to the big leagues, when you get to the UFC, you want these big moments. You want to see fans. You want to get that, experience of people wanting to take pictures, get autographs signed. And, so going back, and when I was with Mitch and Antonio, the Fighters Hotel was probably one of the coolest things you could have experienced. You can't even get into the elevator with, people wanting autographs and pictures and fans crashing the hotel, to walking out to 10, 12,000 to up to 15,000 people. I mean, that's those moments you live for in fighting. And I think a lot of these fighters now aren't getting that experience. And I think it's really tough. And I'll bring Matt in now, but one of the things Matt said to me during the fight week, it's like, it feels like we're hiding. And it's like literally we had no food service. We had to, order Uber Eats all the time. And it was delivered to a table with a security guard. Walking through the hallways was like, The Walking Dead. You barely saw anyone. It was such a different experience from the past. And I mean, and Matt's, 4-0 right now in MMA, pro MMA. 3 finishes. So our goal is a couple more fights for Matt, and then we're going to try to get him into the big show. But I'm just curious to see you've been with me in my corner when I went to Japan. You were with me, in Turkey, in a lot of my big fights, in LA. So you've been around that experience of been fighting in front of, over 10,000 people with me. How did it feel for you dreaming about being in the UFC and what you saw?
It was nothing like that. Like you said, and like I even specified, it's like we were grounded. Every time we left the room, we saw someone at the end of the hall checking our necklace, our lanyard, make sure we have the right color bracelet on. Oh, did you get tested today? Did you get temperature checked? Making sure that we got how many fighters did we see? 1, 2 fighters, if that? Yeah. We saw Curtis Blades and we saw the Black Beast.
Yeah, we got to wave to Derek Lewis from a distance.
Yeah, he said, "What's up, guys?" That's what he said. It was just like, we didn't get, it wasn't, like I said, like it wasn't fun. It wasn't like a lot of people like signing autographs or meeting this, meeting that. Just it wasn't that experience like you were stating. So I was like, It is what it is. It's just it's now just a profession.
Yeah.
Like
But
you're going into the office.
The big thing is you have to remember is the timing, and I get it. It's an opportunity for guys. You're still making money. You still get to fight on TV. And, I mean, you got to think the viewership in all of these fights have gone up in the UFC. But that missing link is just that entertainment. I mean, some of my most memorable moments in fighting was the crowd. And specifically in Japan, I remember just walking through the tunnel after my fight and just seeing the Japan crowd going nuts and trying to touch you and wanting to take pictures. And, like, that's the experience a lot of times you live for, to fight for. That gives you that energy. So I think these guys are getting robbed from that real experience that, like, you dream of. Like, you dream of the loud cheering. You dream of jumping on the cage and celebrating. And you kind of lose those moments. So I'm hoping really that these guys who've dedicated their whole lives get that full experience. And I hope, you know, even with crowds coming back, we can have it. But it's just, to me, a frustrating experience because, like I said, there's no excitement to fight week. It's dead. It's flat. There's no excitement at all. I mean, and I also went to Fight Island. And Fight Island was a totally different experience for me. I found Fight Island because, you know, everybody was in that 1W hotel, which, you know, all the teams, you got to interact more with the other coaches. You saw more people. But this fight night in Vegas, I think everybody coming in, coming out, we barely crossed paths with anyone. Mm-hmm. So, which, like I said, was weird. Like, I'd walk down the hallway and I think I saw 1 or 2 people in the hallway just by chance. So it's just weird to be there and not get that experience. So,
do you think that affects the fight, though? Do you think that affects, like, the performance of the fighter at all?
I would honestly, the more I think about it, yeah.
Well, it depends on what kind of fighter you are. If you rise to the occasion and love when people are screaming and yelling, and that kind of energy like is benefiting you, good.
Doesn't it add more pressure? Don't you think, like, the fact that there's people watching adds more pressure, right?
Well, yes and no, but it also, when you're locked in a fight, it's all about a mindset. Like, I really don't know who's in the crowd all the time. Like, you're in a zone. But there are moments in the fight you can still hear. You can still hear your corner. You can still hear the cheering. You can still hear that excitement. So a lot of times when you're down or, I mean, you have somebody hurt and you hear everybody going nuts, like that extra cheering makes you want to get the finish.
Yeah, it excites you more.
Of course,
it makes
you know.
A more exciting fighter. That makes sense.
And especially since, like, when you get that finish and you get to jump on the cage like a gorilla. Come on, man! It's
like your last picture that you put out.
I love it. It's what you kind of live for, and I'm not saying that, like, fighters do it mainly for the fans, because obviously you wouldn't go that far in the sport if you were doing it just for the fans. But it's like, it's part of the fun. It's the experience. I love it. Like, I couldn't imagine fighting at the Apex when no one's around and no one's, like, cheering for you. It's like, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I just think of guys, like, we weren't on a very stacked card that night. I mean, usually when you have those big superstars in there, but I think of someone like Conor McGregor. I think of someone, you know, like the big names, the John Jones. Like, we have Conor McGregor fighting in January against Poirier, and they're going to probably fight in an empty arena. For someone like Conor McGregor, who's used to weighing in with all of these people and having all that excitement, the crowd, it's probably going to feel the difference. Like, to me, it didn't motivate me to want to be a fighter again, you know, to want to get to the UFC. It just, to me, it seems like it's just not there. It wasn't that exciting for me. And it's even to the point where this is what people need to understand. Like, when it was fight day, we literally got a call time to be downstairs. We bring our stuff, we go into one car. So it's not even like you get to go into the bus with the other teams. You walk into your personal car, you get transported in, right into your own change room. You still haven't seen anyone. In your change room, you warm up, and then you pack your bags. You have to pack your bags because once you're done your warm-up and it's time to go, they take your bag. You go right to the ring to fight. Next thing you know, right after you walk out, they hand you your bag, and you walk right back into your bus, and you have to go back to the hotel.
How transactional does that feel?
Literally.
Like, it was basically like in a, like, if you go to a gladiator ring, you go in, okay, you're done now, okay, you're out now. We couldn't even enjoy the show. We couldn't even, like, stick around. Malcolm couldn't even go and shower after. Usually after a fight, you're sweaty, you want to shower.
Yeah.
No, you go right into you go see the
Right
doctor,
out.
and then you leave.
There's not a time to sit and to reflect and, like, Man, look back at like some of my fights. Like some of the best moments you can have is to like finally going back to the change room just to take a deep breath, man. Like, man, the last time I left this change room, I was so scared. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I think of the worst. I'm so nervous. This is 8-week training. My life depends on this moment. And then all of a sudden you go and you get right on the bus and then you get shuttled back to a room with you and your team. You have to Uber Eats food. There's no partying. There's no celebration. And the best part of any fight night, like, I mean, even glory events, and I've been to every almost glory event ever.
Yeah,
the best part is hanging out in the lobby, right?
The lobby chill, yeah, it was always the best.
I mean, Danny's worked with Glory now for many years, so some of the best moments is at the end, the fighters, the coaches,
everyone
the production
together.
crew, the videography crew,
exactly,
everybody
yeah.
gets to relax and have some drinks together and to kind of eat some food.
Yeah.
That's what fighting is. That's how you build relationships. That's how, you know, the excitement of going to fight week, and I think that's
But
taken away.
You said that Fight Island had something like that. In
Fight Island, yeah, because I guess we had...
Because the W Hotel, I guess, was...
But we had the whole hotel. We had our own bubble. But I don't understand why they didn't do that in Vegas. I mean, I guess a lot of the fighters live in Vegas, so they have the option to stay at home versus the hotel. So there's more in and out. But it's just, honestly, it's an experience for me where I hope it changes because, and even, you know, these guys who have come in during this COVID time, I hope that the UFC is able to bring them back to almost give them that real experience because, I mean, they're really getting gypped right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of the excitement of watching sports is watching the fans go crazy, right? And even when you're watching it with your friends or with your boys, it's all about celebrating together. And when something happens, you just go nuts. And, you know, when you take that energy away from the sport, I guess it kind of takes away from the athlete and his experience. And, yeah, I can see what you're saying.
I'll tell you what, like, the best part about it is, especially in the last couple of fights, even though it's a small regional scene, but it's it's when they come to the dressing room and they say, okay, you ready to go, right? Okay, they have the radio. Okay, he's coming out. Matty Special's coming out. And then as you walk, you're going through like the tunnel, and you start hearing as you get closer, boom, 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 and it starts getting the vibration, and then you start realizing, okay, this is real now. And then when you get to the actual like arena part, and then you see everyone as you're walking out, they're screaming and they're yelling, and you're just like, this is real. Like, this is when you know it's on.
One of the most unforgettable moments was Collision 2.
Yeah.
Badr, and I was on the side of the ramp where the
Moroccans were crashing.
And the second Badr video came up, like you knew he was gonna walk out. Holy shit! I'll never forget the amount of people crowding up onto the edge of the thing with their phones out, screaming their heads off. The energy was so unreal. Yeah. Like, and I can see that. And then you see Badr come out, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's going crazy, and it's like it hypes up the fight and it makes it so exciting.
And it's crazy to think. You have to think when was it? Last year, the end of last year, we had a kickboxing event with Rico and Badr fighting in front of 38,000 people. Yeah. I was literally like fighting for a world title for me. This is my commentary, like world title. Like I'm creating an open, talking on a mic in front of 38,000 people.
I think that's the biggest kickboxing event ever held in history.
Yeah. No, I mean the Japan ones in the old school days used to have those big
but like
events.
Half the country of Netherlands watched that.
Yeah, like it's insane. So I mean to have that and then literally 1 month later go into UFC events and other high level leagues with no one in, it's totally different. Yeah. But even as a coach now, you have to think it's changed a little bit. And this is another good topic to rant on a little bit. It's how you coach now changes a little bit because you can hear the other corner directly.
I was just about to say that. Like, how do you coach when the other fighter can actually hear what you're saying and you can hear each other?
But because, like, I mean, a lot of the earlier MMA guys, the shows aren't that big, and especially amateur kickboxing and stuff, it's not that much noise, so you can hear the other corner. But it's still changed things. Now you're talking about the highest level of fighting. You can't just yell, jab, low kick, jab, low kick. The whole arena hears it. Everybody hears it. It's expected. So I think now the coaches have to start using a little bit more code, a little bit more systems involved, and I think that's a big way of things changing.
Do you have a code? Do you have a code with Malcolm and stuff?
We were lucky because they were from Tibet, so they didn't speak English, so I didn't need any code. Yeah, I actually told them before, like during fight, I was like, guys, we don't need any code language, because it's perfect. And but I mean, even before that, like it's just fun. It's like a battle with the coaching. Like I mean, you can hear, like, even in Malcolm's first fight, he fought Elbazi there in Fight Island.
Yeah.
And you can hear his corner saying things, I'm saying things. So as a coach now, I would kind of go off and say to Malcolm what the other corner, Malcolm, the other corner is asking for this, just so the other corner knows that I know that I heard them, you know? Regardless, it changes the dynamics of coaching. It changes the dynamics of fighting. It's different now. I mean, it's very real. It's like I said, it's great to have the payday and the opportunities. But, coaching's different, man.
Well, I know one thing I noticed, especially in Fight Week, you know, being the guy who films it all, but BTS, there's a lot of tension between the fighters, obviously, like in media day and everything like that. And the whole time we pass each other, you can't be buddy-buddy with the guy you're about to try to kill, right? Is that the same thing with coaches? If you run into the opposite coach, is there that same tension, like my fighter's going to whoop your fighter's ass, so I can't be like your friend?
I would say there's definitely part of it.
It's not fun being stuck in an elevator with like the opposite coach, right?
Sometimes, but I mean, what's happened to me over the years is when I was competing in the early coaching, that was the mentality. Yeah. The mentality was, you're the enemy. I don't want to talk to you, touch you. Like, my career with my coach, he would get upset with me if I was too friendly with my opponent. He didn't want me even shaking hands. He wanted no communication. And so I was very stoic with my opponents. I stayed away. I didn't want to share cards. I didn't want to share elevators. If anything, it was a quick handshake and then off. I mean, you have to create that little bit, because I realized I needed that mentality, because I'm someone who I'm a finisher, and I want to finish you, and I want to hurt you, and I don't want to hurt my friends. I'm a nice person outside of the sport, but I'm also, vicious. My life is dependent. I fight for death. I fight for, like, my life depends on it. And I really want to go in there and do as much damage as possible, because to me, that's the beautiful thing about martial arts. A knockout is the poetry of martial arts, because it's like the timing was there, the technique was on, the landing. So knockouts are an expression of good quality martial arts. So I like that, but I don't like hurting someone. Yeah. So if I'm too friendly, I would not be the person who would fight a teammate. I couldn't fight someone I knew. So that little bit of distance helps. But then, being with Glory, we're doing about 10 to 12 to 14 shows a year. Yeah. And then you start seeing people, and you start seeing the high-level coaches that it is, at the end of the day, a sport. I mean, and when you're invested in it and you're the athlete, you might think life or death, this is war, this is gladiator battles, and you do need to think that. But at the end of the day, it is a sport, and when you're around it so often, that you realize that what the sport is, Yeah. Like, even Malcolm, his opponent, like, was very respectful, the bowing, the shaking, the talking. And usually after you become friends with him, because you share that moment. But it's become more friendly as I've escaped the fighting part, is basically, that was a long answer to say that.
Yeah.
But you've said to me, and it stuck with me, and I kind of like it, like on weigh-in day, maybe I'll shake their hand. I'm like, okay, cool. We have a job to do. I don't want to try to put on that front room, like, oh, look at me, I'm a big man. No. But like you said, even on fight day, you're like, don't address them. Don't even go near them. Yeah. And I kind of like that mentality. It's like, I don't need to be your buddy. We can be buddies after. I'm pretty much friends with all the guys I've fought. Like, I've had in total like 29, 30 fights. Yeah. And I'm cool with each one of them, but not beforehand. Yeah. I'm just going to fight them.
You have to.
I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, too, as a coach, like, it's funny to play. Like, we've done it, and I mean, I'll give the example of how we play games. Like, we'll see the opponent coming, and I'll look whoever I'm talking to, I'm like, start laughing. Start pretending like we're laughing about something. So you just randomly start laughing, like, start giggling. Because, like, what are they laughing? Why are they so calm? Why are they so relaxed? Like, do I know? So, like, they're nervous, so you pretend like you're not nervous, just to kind of give that illusion.
Yeah. It's like the mind games. It's like
of course. You got to play those games. Why is Joe so laughy and excited? And why is Matt there, like, not nervous at all? Yeah. But you play the game. You give the illusion that, that these guys are, they're more nervous and we're not nervous. We're taking this very lightly and we're confident.
Yeah, and I guess some people like to take it the other way, where they like to talk shit and they like to get in people's faces, like the Doombays and the Myrtles. Like, I don't even know if they actually hate each other. Maybe they do. I don't know. But, like, is it an act? I don't know, right? Some people take it that way, whereas you guys like to take it more of like a a relaxed route, like.
Well, I think people still like think that Joe and I are psycho because days leading up to the fight, they see Joe and I like working out in the parking lots of the hotel for like 30, 40 minutes. But that's what we do daily. Like it's not strenuous to us. It's like that's what we got to get in every time. We even do that. We do a little bit lower version on fight day, and people are like, "Why are you working out on fight day?" It's like, what we do. We work out. We loosen up. This is what we do. This is how he's gonna get the best out of me.
So how does fight week go for you guys exactly? Like you said, that's something you guys do differently. What is fight week like?
Well, I think fight week, and this is where I originally wanted to bring Matt on here, was for talking about fight weeks. Honestly, all about making and managing weight. I mean, at that point, the training is all done. And I think this is where people, if you're trying to do too much now, it's too late. Like, what are you going to accomplish in a last week? It's like cramming for a test. You know, if you've done your work throughout fight week, should just be about managing the weight. You shouldn't be having to think about, which techniques am I going to use? It's too late at that point. You know how to throw all the strikes. You know how to do the technique. It's just now focusing on your mind and focusing on the body is the most important thing on that fight week.
So you're not really learning anything.
You shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be changing.
You shouldn't be changing game plans. I mean, yes, there's an opportunity to take a last minute fight, but even if I was a coach and Malcolm's first fight in the UFC was a last minute fight, so the worst thing anyone could do is start going crazy now. Like if you were off chilling, relaxing, and then all of a sudden you have a week or two to prepare for a fight, and then you start, killing yourself, adding too much, your body's not going to recover, your nervous system's going to take a big hit. So it's almost better just to kind of maybe just ride it out instead of damaging your body so much that you can't recover for fight night. Yeah. But the fight week now, and I mean, still with this weight cutting, it tends to be now all about weight cutting fight week. And I mean, this is where most guys are coming into fight week, and Matt can speak on this, probably about the average UFC fighter, 12 pounds, 10 to 12 pounds, they have to cut of water in that last week.
And I know Matt's like 100% on all his fighters so far. All your fighters have made weight.
Everyone's made weight. Yeah, and that's the biggest selling feature that I give the fighters when they hire me. I said the biggest thing I want, like obviously I'm the accountability person, but also I want you not to worry fight week. I'm the guy that worries. Even throughout fight camp, they're always like, I get messages, "Oh man, I feel like I got to be lower in weight. I feel like this is not working." I was like, "Don't worry, you're dropping weight properly, and on fight week I just don't want them to worry, because there's a problem with your emotions, that like emotional distress on your mind that's going to tie into the fight and make you more tired in the fight. So I want to remove that completely from that person's mind. So when I worry about their food, when I'm cooking their food, and when I'm telling them how to cut weight and what to do all through fight week, and then their coaches are telling them how they're training on fight week, they're not doing anything. All they're doing is showing up. Obviously they're putting in the work throughout fight camp, they're putting in the work fight week, and then ultimately the fight. But all I tell them is like, listen, you're being put all the instructions, just show up and you're good. And this takes out the emotional distress, and it's good.
But what's different for me is, take back 5 years. There was no such thing as, fight nutritionist, basically, like Matt's doing. Like, they may get you would hire probably just a regular nutritionist. There was no fight specialist nutritionist. So you would just hire a regular dietitian, and they would get you to a certain weight. And then that whole weight cut process and rehydration was all on you. And like, there was no one to manage it. I had, like, for my world title fights, I mean, there was no option to hire someone to do my weight cut and rehydration. I don't even think that was an option. It's just, for me, I came from a health and physical education degree. So I studied, the body, physiology, biomechanics. So I understood those things. And I knew how to research and understood. So I researched, I talked to wrestlers, people in the UFC already, and I gained all my information. And my manager, my best friend is Costa Clarianos, who is, one of the best when it comes to sports and performance. So me and him, with our minds together, we're able to basically put together, a plan and a system and a thing that worked. But this is where I want to show Matt. It's like, I think a lot of fighters are still stuck maybe in the way we were thinking. It worked. It works great. But there is new science and new research to help that process a little bit more. And because there's been times where, like, I've gone to a hotel and I was like, I'm going to do an Epsom salt bath. And then next thing you know, there's no bathtub in your hotel. You don't even know, like, So there's points where we're having to call ahead and ask if there's even tubs at the hotel. There's times where if there's no tubs, it's going to sound ridiculous, but because everyone uses a tub, they have portable saunas now. There is to a point where like, we're putting sauna suits, layers of clothes, closing the bathroom door in the hotel, putting the blow dryer on, like we're putting the blow dryer on heat, kind of pushing it down everywhere like that. So we're trying to create as much heat as we can, shadow boxing, putting the hot water taps on to create steam in the room. Anything you had to do is what we did. So, I mean, things have changed, and there's a system now, and I think it's so much better for fighters that have this option to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's the biggest one too. Is whenever a fighter goes, "Oh, I'm fighting for this organization," let's say in Atlanta. Like I would go ahead and I would call ahead for them to the hotel. Hey, you've got so and so fighting, and they're staying at this hotel. Do you have a bathtub? Like I've checked, even for myself too. When I do my own weight cuts, I'll call ahead to the hotel. Yeah. Hey, do you have bathtubs? There's been two of my fights for BTC where they're just like, "Oh no, you don't have a bathtub in your room." I was like, shit, you gotta take me out of that room, put me in another room, and I have to switch rooms. So I would have showed up to that room being like, there's a stand-up shower. Yeah. How am I gonna do this?
So it's more than just about food. You got to deal with the logistics and everything like that. Because I'm not gonna list any names, but I have recently heard out of a fighter's mouth directly saying that they don't feel they need a nutritionist. Like they straight up just said, I don't see a point in it. I know how to diet.
Well, it depends because like Joe was saying, like him and Costa, like the way they did it, they're very close to what we do it now. And these guys were doing it 5-6 years ago. Like they had it on. Like they knew exactly what to drink, what to take in, how to cut the weight at times, like the foods and whatnot. Obviously, I'd switch up a little bit of the shakes that like he would have post weigh-in, not just the Pedialyte, but more the sodium and like the water. I'd get more water replenishment and all that kind of stuff. But like some people, they're confident, and you know what? Like I said, but Joe said he's like people are stuck in their ways, and they don't know what they don't know, and that's the biggest thing.
So for like the people who don't know much about nutrition at all. They might just think, why can't I just have chicken, rice, and vegetables? Like, what do I need you to tell me? And that was one of the points I heard. I'm not going to list any names because I heard this in person from a fighter, a pretty big fighter too at that. And the coach didn't say anything against it either, which was surprising to me. But like, why do I need someone to tell me to eat healthy food when I've been an athlete my whole life? I know how to eat healthy. So what do you got to say to someone like that who says, why do I need you to tell me to eat chicken and broccoli?
I'll ask them is like how much weight are you cutting like progressively throughout fight camp? Are you getting your actual body mass down in a healthy way so that when you get to fight week, you're only cutting maybe the water cut, you're only doing maybe 6% of your body weight. Not most guys do 12, 13, 14% of their body weight, which is, I wouldn't even go near. I always stick between 6 to 8% of your body weight. I won't even go anything more than that because that will cause issues with the performance.
And obviously the more you cut, the more your performance dips.
I think so. And you know, yes, we get 36 hours to rehydrate, replenish, recover, but there comes a spot of diminishing returns where it doesn't work, man. It's like the person's going to be completely out and they need at least 3-4 days to recover. And what I say to that is like, you know what? Like, yeah, people know what healthy eating is. Broccoli, chicken, rice. But then I ask, how much? Yeah. How much do you eat?
How much fats to proteins to carbohydrates are you having is all very important for your recovery, for your training. It's not only that, it's like, when should you have it? How long before a training session? What should you have after to replenish from the workout? And at the same time, how are you still in a calorie deficit to lose the weight for the fight as well, still have energy for your fights and have the energy demands? So we were actually making fun of Matt because a lot of times we were calling him Macro Matt because it's like literally like everything was like, well, you can eat that, but it's not fitting into your macros. So it's like Macro Matt. We're like, can Macro Matt relax for 2 seconds? You know, like all trip we were calling him Macro Matt.
Macro Matt.
So it's like there is a bigger understanding of it, and a lot of people think it's simple of just eating things, but there's a timing issue and there's a how much issue. How much do you have to lose? Like, it's a formula. I mean, we're not going to give up too much of Matt's secrets here, but he calculates things. It's scientific. It's based on a formula. So he knows every week how much to reduce, what to add, what to take away, what to change. I think that's the most important part that people don't understand. I'm well versed in nutrition, but also if I'm fighting, it's another thing that I don't want to think about. Yeah. Again, I'm a coach. I've been studying martial arts since I've been 4 years old. You know, that's that's a long time of martial arts. It's 31 years of martial arts. I know how to fight. I would know the way I'd want to fight, my boxing, what works, what doesn't, my kick fighting. I know that all. But if I were to fight, I still need a coach. I have to allow someone to kind of dictate things. I can't put my mindset into fighting as well as do the coaching part. So that's where I think that role that Matt has is vital.
And if you're in the highest level of combat sports and you're fighting the highest level competition, every little thing matters.
Every
right?
little
every little advantage you can take matters. I mean, that's probably why some people take steroids, right?
Yeah,
they're the little bit.
They're the 1%ers, man. It's
Yeah.
it's the 1% of having the coach there, having the right coach, right striking coach, right grappling coach, right nutritionist. Every little bit helps, and that's the biggest thing. And also, we take into account everyone is individualized. Everything is individualized.
Yeah.
It's not cookie cutter. So I couldn't do the same plan that I have with Malcolm versus somebody else, because Malcolm's a different guy and my other clients, my other fighters are different guys. Okay, some guys they mix and match. Like for example, and I'll throw this out there because he doesn't mind me saying this out. It's just like sometimes he loves gummy bears. Right?
Yeah,
he
Malcolm
loves them. He
them.
loves them, but he is strict during the diet plan. But there are times where, like, a couple weeks after working with me, he's like, man, I'm kind of craving it a little bit. I'm like, guess what? Because we're counting calories, because I know exactly what's going in your body, I know I can give you a little bit of those at the end of the week. Macro Matt right there. So that's what I'll do. And you know what? I'll give it on after a Saturday session. I'm like, Malcolm, you're allowed to have these many gummy bears for this night. We're gonna take out this rice and this carb to add in this sugar from the gummy bears, because, like, you know what? If this is gonna help you adhere to the diet for the next week, why the hell not? Instead of depriving you, and then that next week, that's all you're thinking about. I want gummy bears. I want gummy bears. I want gummy bears. And it's like, you already had them Saturday. So guess what? You're good for the rest of the week until the next Saturday. You do it again. You do it again. And this breeds adherence and sustainability within the person's diet, and ultimately helps them all through fight camp, and then ultimately in their weight cut on fight week.
Some of the things that I wanted to show Matt, and I think a lot of the people listening are going to be interested, is some of the things that Matt brought up this, last week there in the UFC, even had me thinking, and it's just more of him to elaborate on. One of the things, which I'm sure if most people study weight cutting, was the use of albuline. Albuline is what people used to cut weight. It was an old school trick where it's a makeup remover that helps remove moisture from the skin. So even when I was competing 10 years ago, I would get albuline, we'd rub it on ourselves, put the sauna suit on, get in our bathtub. So whatever way you want the water to come out, we'd use we'd use the albuline, but apparently that isn't what research is saying. So what are they saying with that?
So what with albuline, apparently what happens is it actually clogs your pores. So it doesn't allow as much sweat to come out as possible.
Which is totally against which we all did, though, right?
We all did. I did albuline. You did. We all did it. And what?
Fighters still do it. I guarantee you more than 50% of the roster still uses albuline.
Yeah, so now we moved it over. We changed it to sweet sweat. Sweet sweat gets more sweat out. So you want to go with sweet sweat, not albuline. Albuline clogs it. That's like throwing Vaseline on.
What is sweet sweat?
Sweet sweat is just it's just a component. I don't know exactly. It just helps the sweat come out. Basically,
is it like a lotion or something?
Yeah. It's basically a cream essentially. So yeah, it helps the sweat come out. It really brings the sweat out from you.
Yeah. The other thing which surprised me was usually right away was everyone says, I mean, I still do them, once or twice a week, Epsom salt baths. I mean, we were looking for Epsom salts, and Macro Matt just threw out there all of a sudden that we don't need, Epsom salts. I was like, okay, well, that's news to me. So.
Yeah, no, it's
break it down for us.
Yeah, no, they've done multiple studies, and I've read through the research, and they've done two people where they're like, okay, we're gonna do Epsom salt, or the same person, Epsom salt bath one night, regular hot bath another night, and they saw basically no difference in the water coming out. So
do they need more studying on it though? Because to me, the science is, this is going back to my probably elementary school science. Water will travel from a high concentration to there's more salt in the water. So the water from your body is going to go into where the salt is. It's going to move itself over. So you would think with, high salt in the water that it's going to suck the water out of you. It seems to work. So I don't understand. does it need more studying, or are you set on this way forever?
I'm never set on something forever. Like if studies come out and they're saying, oh, this is what they're seeing, but like if you're constantly seeing studies come out saying, hey guys, you know what, like the Epsom salt, it doesn't do much. Like save your money a little bit. You don't need to grab the Epsom salt. I think the Epsom salt helps people because like the magnesium in the Epsom salt helps to keep you calm. So that's also like a big like tool that people use where it's like, oh, it's nice and calming. It makes me chill. Okay, great. Let's use it then. But if someone's set, like I said, like individualized, if a fighter's set on Epsom salt, oh, I want to use Epsom salt. But I said, you know, same amount of water comes out if you just have a regular bath at a certain temperature. And he goes, yeah, but I like Epsom salt. Then we're doing Epsom salt. I don't care.
Yeah,
like, it
the
doesn't
mindset
matter.
of the fighter.
I don't mind. I don't mind. As long as you're not doing something outrageous where it's like, that's when I step in and go, no, we're not doing that shit. No, but like if he goes, I want Epsom salt, I'm like, yeah, let's do Epsom salt, dude. If you like the lavender and you want to smell good, I don't care. It'll help smell like the bathroom smell good if I smell lavender while I'm sitting there with you, and I end up doing it in the morning on the bath. Like I'll sit there with the guy. Like obviously he's wearing shorts. I make that a thing. So but like no, I'll sit there and that's my part of my job. I sit there and I make sure he's good to go. I notice when he starts sweating, and then from there, I take him out of the bath, and then I put Sweet Sweat on him. I'm basically coaching him through, like, mentally and physically throughout the whole process, and that's the whole thing. Yeah. So like, if you at the end of the day, if you want Epsom salt, do it. But there's no difference between Epsom salt and regular hot bath.
Another cool thing I saw you do too, which is newer to me, was you actually use the thermometer to check the temperature of the bath. Which usually, again, you just put the hot water and get it in as hot as you can. But like you said, there was some research showing that whether it's too hot or then you got to get out more, which you might not sweat enough. So you guys have like a set temperature that you like to have the water.
Yeah, we do it. We go for like 107 to 108 degrees. Because then when your body gets into the bath, it because of the body temperature, then it'll drop it down to about 105 degrees. And what I've seen, and it's funny because I did this with a couple fighters, a couple fight cards on PFC. It's basically if it's too hot, man, you're just gonna keep coming in and out, and
start panicking.
You'll start panicking, and you're not able to sustain the 25 minutes in the bath, which I recommend. And one of the fighters I worked with, I was working with one guy, and I had the bath going. I'm like, hey, you're good to go. Wrapped him up in the blanket burrito we had him, and then I was messaging his coach, and he goes, oh, by the way, he already got into the bath. He did it himself. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm sure it's not that bad. I go to the room. And I go, hey man, you good to go? And he goes, yeah, I'm already in the bath. Okay, cool. I put the thermometer in. This guy had it at 122 or 23. And I'm like, bro, you're gonna be jumping out of here in the next like 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
And like every 5 minutes, he was jumping out. I'm like, you can't handle it, can you? It's way too hot, man. I'm panicking. Like you said, I'm panicking. I'm like, okay, we got to cool the water down. Let's get it to 109 or 108. Bring it down to 106. We should be fine. Once we did that, there's more of a calming effect. They can stay underwater longer, and they can just chill, and they get the sweat going. That's what you want.
So even in my time, I was the bath into the burrito, which we call it a blanket burrito. I don't think people might be confused what a blanket burrito is, but usually after you weight cut, so you sit in a bathtub, you're in your shorts, and then you get your Sweet Sweat on, then you put your plastic suit on, you put the sauna suit on, you layer up as much as you can, your toque, and then you lay down, and then your boys get all the blankets that are on the beds possible, and then we'll even ask for more, and you wrap your buddy up into basically a blanket burrito. So that's what the burrito is. That's the way I cut weight. That's the way Matt and I also uses. But then there's some fighters, even old school, is the sauna. And what I've been hearing with saunas is it can kind of dehydrate your organs, and it makes it a little bit harder for you to recover from. I don't know, but some guys have sweared from it, and it's been a proven tool in the past. So Matt, what's your thoughts on the sauna?
I've heard that as well, like where it takes it from like the water from the organs, and it might be a little bit rough to like get a little bit more recovered for fight time. But I've also seen fighters being able to recover from it. I've had a few fighters that I work with where they're like, oh, I want to do the sauna. And I say, okay, let's do the sauna then. And we do the sauna. I could see it hurts. The sauna I feel like it hurts more people, like just because when you're in that environment, like everything's hot. Like at least with the bath, your head is outside the water. You can be a little bit calm. I personally love the blanket burrito because your whole body's in like this like little ready-made sauna, but your head's still out, and you could hear people talking. You can put on something like on your iPad or something. But yeah, I feel like there's more panic in the sauna.
Yeah,
like
it's just because you're facing the heat and it's too much. I didn't enjoy it. I've done it once and I didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah, and in regards to the recovery, I've seen guys like gas out in fights. I don't know if I can attribute that to the weight cut in the sauna, but then I seen guys do amazing in fights all the way through for 3 rounds, and they did the sauna. So it's like it can be completely individualized based on the acute weight loss for fight week. How much did they cut? If they only had to cut, for one of my guys one time, we only had to go 3 pounds of water. So sauna wasn't that bad. But if a guy had to cut maybe 10 pounds, 12 pounds in the sauna, man, we're gonna have some problems.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in, regardless, whatever path, whatever coach, whatever system, whatever weight cut, as long as you're confident and you believe in it, it's gonna work. I mean, if I hire Matt and I don't believe in the blanket burrito and I believe in the sauna, it's gonna create more stress, more anxiety. You're not gonna believe in it, so you gotta have to believe in the approach. And to me, science always wins. You got to follow the way of science. It's the best way to do it. It's studied, it's proven, but it is still important to have that experience factor because, like you said, it's very individual. So sometimes you have to change little things. Like one of the other cool things I saw is, I never did, I would usually cut and do a 24-hour fast before my weigh-in. So I would figure out, say the weigh-in is at 3 p.m., I would stop eating and drinking at 3 p.m. and I would do a whole 24-hour fast. And then I'm trying to cut weight and it's exhausting, you know. You lose brain fogginess. You start, you can't speak as well. You're kind of stumbling around. But what I saw Matt do, which I really liked, is the use of berries. And he used blueberries for the guys, just a little cup at night while he's cutting weight or just to go to bed to help the guy sleep a little bit. And I thought that was really good. And that's probably something I would add, if I were to cut weight in the future.
Yeah, because like I said, and you did this, and way before, back in the day, I did the 24-hour fast as well. It's just that, you know what, when we get to that last day, the day before weigh-ins, we're cutting down the water to below like 1 liter, okay? And as you start cutting the water weight, that water's already coming out. So now the water's done, essentially. But you got to think about, we're still going to feed the fighter. Like the diet is going to be more protein, fats, and fruits, okay? And it's only going to be the weight of the food. The fighter's not going to gain fat at that point.
Yeah.
It's really
just the weight of whatever's in your stomach.
It's the weight of what's in the stomach, what's the weight of the food, and then with the berries, and like it was pineapple. I mixed it up for Malcolm, but it was the sugar that was going to help him through each stage. So he got out of the bath, went to the burrito, and then he took a second. He took off the burrito and the sauna suit, and he went outside. And outside, we waited there for about 15 minutes. I went out and got him a half cup of pineapple. Yeah, it was the greatest thing ever.
Loved
he said
it.
He loved it.
It's cold. It was nice. He was able to suck on it. Like, it helped him, and it was a very, very good tool to weight cutting.
Oh yeah, and I the thing is, I learned that along the way. I learned that. I kept hearing other nutritionists, other dietitians say, okay, every time they go from the bath and into the blankets, we did we gave them some berries. It was like a reward kind of thing. Yeah, and I know it sounds like you're animals, but essentially, like, you want, like, if like Malcolm knew he's getting out of the bath, he's getting some blueberries. Shit, this is gonna be easy.
Reward,
It's gonna be easy. I love this. And then when we were done, like a mini cut on the Thursday night before the Friday cut, he asked me, he goes, hey man, can I go and eat my chicken and like the chicken and sauce I have? I was like, yeah, because the chicken and sauce is not even close to like a half a pound. Go enjoy yourself. So this guy's going to his room. He's having a half cup of pineapple and he's still having chicken and some of the sauce that goes with it. No one in the right mind, like 5-6 years ago, would even talk about that.
Costa sometimes would go to me. He would give me like, I think they're called Lara bars, those all natural. And I would get maybe one to have a little piece here and there. And then at the end of the day, I was like, if anything, in my mind, it's going to spike my insulin and it might cause me to be more hungry.
Yeah,
it's like, I might as well just not eat it, So I would just sometimes refuse not to eat it. So, I mean, but going back and realizing that I could have, but I think at my point, at that phase of the fight, if I do eat, it's almost like a break in my mental focus. And that, to me, I don't like. So even if I decided, okay, I always use the example of almonds. I don't know why. It's something I use. If I decided during fight camp, I'm going to have 10 almonds, I'm only going to eat 10. Even if someone comes and says, hey, Joe, here, have an 11th almond. If I eat that 11th almond, I broke mentally, and there's a good chance I might lose this fight because I broke mentally. That's how crazy and obsessive I was about everything had to be perfect. That's how bad I wanted to win. If it meant only eating 10, I would not eat that 11th almond, because in my mind, that 11th almond is toxic. It's toxic to my brain. It's toxic to my thinking. And I broke mentally. And if I broke mentally in my nutrition, there's a chance that I could break mentally when it comes fight night. So 10 almonds, that's it.
That's that Mamba mentality, eh?
like
All
it.
the way
That's
through.
it.
I like it though. I like it.
8 weeks out. 8 weeks out. If I decided that this is it, this is it. And I mean, that's how I think has to be. And I rant about this all the time, and I'm sure I'll go on another podcast on it. But some of the most important aspects in fighting is discipline, structure, and routine. You need those 3 aspects. If you don't have the discipline to say no to that 11th almond, it's you're going into ring, which is causing harm. Like, this is your career, this is your life. You need that discipline, you need that routine. If you don't know when you're training, and you need that structure, I mean, those are probably the most important aspects in fighting. You would think that, you know, the technique, the training, but all of those get better with structure, discipline, and routine. So you need those 3 points in order to improve your technique, to be able to train it enough, to be able to get better, and to go into the fight and do well. So, I mean, you really need to have that mental focus. So I think a lot of times, like, when I hear guys like, oh, I want a jelly bean and this, and I want gummy bears, I'm like, no. Like, I mean, because in my mind, it was a break of mental focus. So sometimes I need to know that people aren't as crazy and as obsessive as I am. But to me, that's what you need to be a world champion. You need that type of structure and discipline. So for me, I hate seeing my fighters get to the point where they break mentally like that. Yeah, it's tough. There's times in training, and Matt can speak to it. There's times where, like, I've just started randomly snapping. And they're like, what's going on? It's like, I'm hungry. I want to kill this guy. They're like, well, I'm just hungry. But that hunger, you know, makes you want to get angry. I was mad that I couldn't eat because of him. So I would just start getting into this crazy panic, being like, I just want to kill this guy. Like, I just want to rip his face. I want to kick his legs off. Like, that is the type of mentality that I had. So instead of me being like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm just going to go eat now, I used it as fuel to kind of just get angry at my opponent, because I needed that anger, you know? So it's different for everyone, but I mean, I'm a big believer on only having 10 almonds.
I think for champions, you have to have that mentality. There's not one world champion in combat sports that was lazy.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's some of those, there's some fighters that actually have success. Like, the current welterweight champ of glory is Cedric Doumbé. Like, his whole thing is he has no coach. He basically trains. He does joke videos. I'm sure he eats healthy and stuff like that, but he does jokes video about eating pizza.
But how much of that is an act?
I honestly think he's in his own. A lot of guys, like, look at guys like Mike Perry, like in the UFC. A lot of guys just have.
But Mike Perry's not a champion, though.
Yeah, but look how successful he is, you know.
He's in the UFC.
He's in the UFC. He's doing great. Like, that, to me, is successful. That's, you know, 1% of the population. So he's doing something, right? There's a lot of fighters who need that little thing. That, just for me, it was a break in mental focus, and I just can't be having that.
So yeah, no, I agree with the whole discipline of it, and like, this is where you're gonna call me Macro Matt again. So when it comes to the discipline, like, I'm okay with mixing up certain areas of the diet to like fit the need of the fighter. Like, if someone needs something, like, okay, we can fit that in, but it's got to hit your macros, obviously.
Yeah. But so what do they usually need? Sugar, sweets. They want those things, you know?
But if that's gonna help them get through a week and not think about it, then I'm okay with doing that. But I'm going to say, hey, listen, we're doing this, but we're taking out also this, which you're getting less food now, more calorically dense food, but it's because you want to get in that little thing. But if that's what's going to help you all the way through, let's do it then. I'm okay with that. But this doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. Let's splurge and let's go into like calorie debt of like 2,000 calories. I'm like, we're not doing that. Like, I'm giving you one little thing, don't push too far.
It's like relationship advice, Matt. Good stuff. If they want something, you got to, you know, change it around a little bit, give them a little bit, but don't give them too much. It's good.
Bro, I don't think we're in any position to even give relationship advice, okay? We're both single. I don't think so.
So, Matt, how much of what you do as a nutritionist coach is about enforcing that discipline? Like, if a fighter really wants to eat more gummy bears, is it your responsibility to talk him out of it, or is it your responsibility to go to someone like Joe, who's the coach, and be like, hey, your fighter needs to stop eating fucking gummy bears?
And then I have to be the bad guy and go in there and say, no, you're not eating gummy bears, man.
No. And like I said, like, if they're going to hire me, they're going to hire me, especially someone who's in the combat sports world, like a fighter who's in this professionally. I'll sit and have a legit conversation with them. I'll say, what do you want out of this? Like, do you just work out to eat? Like this is your life right now, okay? Like, guess what? And I always say this, I use this as an example for myself, is like in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the parties are still going to be there. The bars are still going to be there. Alcohol's still going to be there. The gummy bears are still going to be there. But guess what's not going to be there? The opportunity to fight the way you are right now. So I'm like, take that in, because all that shit's going to be there later on. But right now is where you got to like be. Your mind's got to be right now, because that opportunity, that UFC contract's going to be here now, not in 5 years. They're going to laugh you out of the room, or you're not going to have the skill, or you're not going to have like anything to get through this. So I always tell them, I was like, you got to look at what your priorities are right now. If you want to eat, man, go and be a professional eater. And this is where I become like more like it's like more of a therapy talk, because I tell them, if it's just a gen pop client, like a general population, and they want to eat, I was like, okay, let's be flexible. Let's have fun. I know you like to go to the gym. You like to do your elliptical. That's awesome. But I'm like, for a fighter, I'm like, dude, you're going in there. This guy's going to kill you. This guy's trying to kill you. You're trying to kill him. I'm like, let's get on this. Like, yeah, I'll be flexible as much as I can, but now I'll put my foot down and be like, no, I'll be the bad guy. I'm not gonna let Joe be the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy.
I think a lot of fighters forget, like, when they're like in that bathtub and they hate their lives and they come out of the bathtub and they've just done 2 full, dehydration sessions. Then there's like, you got to go back in, man. There's like half a pound to a pound. If you would have not had that 11th almond, your ass would not have to go back in that minute. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, if you would have listened, you would have not had to go back. And you're hating your life going back in for that other last half pound. So if you were more structured and disciplined back in that 8-week time, you would not have to go back in for a 3rd time. Now, like, I'm basically changing you because you're so exhausted, because you couldn't have lost that extra pound or 2 like we structured. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's only hurting them, and it's frustrating. But one thing that I saw that was genius was, I know a lot of guys who will actually cut maybe half a pound or a pound more than they would, just sometimes to get that little bit of snack and stuff in. So what they will do is, I don't think Matt's ever heard this, but it's probably, honestly, to me, it's pretty good. Like, if you're having an easier time, what they'll do is, instead of making, say it's 155, they'll maybe do 154.5 or 154. If it's not a big deal and they cut out and it's fine, then they'll just step on the official scale with a cup in their hand. And then they wait. So if they step on the scale with a cup in their hand, they see 154.5. And then all of a sudden you can fill as much water, electrolytes, food as it makes 155 or 156, whatever you want. And then you can eat that. So at the idea, as soon as you get that first berry, the fruit, the electrolyte, you just automatically feel better. So having that, instead of waiting now for 3 hours to have to now weigh in, you cut that little half a pound, and then you get that little half a pound in fluid, and then you'll feel better the time you weigh in. I don't know if I agree with it. I mean, if you're really struggling to make the weight, I mean, then I would highly not do that. But if you can make the weight and it's easy for you, I can see how that might be a positive thing.
I'd be all about that. But the thing that this where it ties into like another bit of my structure, and what I try to tell people is a lot of times guys, they wanna cut so much weight the night before, and they want to spend all night sleeping, dehydrated. I don't like that. I personally, when they ask for my recommendation, I say, okay, listen, we can get up early. I woke up with Malcolm at 5:30 a.m. and I've done it before for myself, for fighters. We'll get up at 5. And we'll cut the weigh-ins are around 9:30, 10 o'clock. But we'll get up early. I want to cut the bulk of the weight like in the morning of weigh-ins. Yeah. Like I want to cut, like for me, I usually cut like 6 pounds of water on weigh-in day, on morning of, because I just want to get rid of it. Like, and then I just want to be dehydrated for the least amount of time.
Exactly. Too many people, like, it's just, they want to get it over with. But that's where, I mean, having Matt is like a personal trainer. I think a lot of people know how to work out. They can watch videos, but they don't have that motivation and that person there. So I think having Matt there, it's just that person to like make sure he does it, make sure you're on it, keeps you in line, keeps you focused. But now I kind of want to transition to the rehydration, because I think that is another part. I mean, getting to the weight, I think a lot of people struggle. They don't know how to do it properly. Their experience is looking off of Google, hopefully listening to this now and gaining information to do more research, or hiring Matt to do it. But it's just important to understand the rehydration. And we've all done the big mistake of you weigh in, you finally got in, and still to this day, you're going to see a bunch of fighters right off the scale jamming their face with food, things they're craving. And that just totally ruins the rehydration process. I mean, my first time ever cutting weight, it was the IKF. It was in Orlando, an amateur kickboxing tournament. And this is the first time I ever had a day before weigh-in. Usually all of my amateur stuff, you basically weigh in the day you fight, which doesn't allow you to kind of cut weight or put it on. I would still have to do a 24-hour fast, which probably wasn't a good idea. I probably should have cut weight more and then kind of ate through that week since I didn't have time. But I'd still have to do a 24-hour fast, and then I'd only have 2-3 hours to recover. So, but the one time that I did have a day before weigh-in was in that Florida tournament. And right away, right after weighing in, I'll still remember exactly. I got a bagel. I put peanut butter, trail mix, soft and chewy cookies, and then I put the top of that bagel on. That's the first thing I ate right off the scale. Wow. Then right from there, literally chugging as much water, what I can. I could still walk. I felt terrible. But then Troy and I, decided to go to the Olive Garden. All the breadsticks, chicken Alfredo pasta. It got to the point, it was hot out. As soon as we got outside, I was bent in half. I couldn't stand up straight. We had to stop at a gas station and just sit there and not move for 10 minutes in order to get back to the hotel. And then from that moment, I was like, this ain't right, man. Something's not good. I ended up winning the tournament, doing well, but at a professional level, you can't be doing this. And then we learned about the slow process, and this is where Matt will speak more on, but just understanding that not jamming, you're so hungry, you're so into wanting to eat, just waiting that couple hours is just so much more beneficial for you.
So weight cutting doesn't end on the scale.
No. Matt's job doesn't stop until the guy goes into the ring.
That's it.
Rehydration is probably just as important as the weight cutting process.
I think so. Yeah, no, and that's the biggest thing. And so what I do is I take into account how much water weight we're getting rid of, basically starting from Wednesday, Thursday, going into Friday. I'll use the example of let's say 10 pounds. So we channel it into kilograms. So it ends up being 4.5 kilograms, let's say, of water that was taken out. Okay, he's got to get in at least between 150 to 200% more of that. So let's just say minimum it's right around like 7 to 8 liters that he's going to get in right after from weigh-ins to fight time. Obviously, you distribute that,
and you can have more than that. That won't.
You can have more
anything,
than that, exactly. Right? But the first thing we do when we get off is I make them shakes.
Specialized with your stuff, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to give out too info.
No. It's a mixture of creatine, sodium, coconut water, all mixed in, and they're different measurements based on how much weight you cut. So you can't just listen to this and be like, oh, I'm gonna do all what he said and that's it, because there's little different things that we throw in there, different elements, even glutamine. I just recently started throwing in to help with absorption of the nutrients of the food coming in later on. But I make sure that the first hour and a half, 2 hours, it's fluids, man. I don't want guys to go and gorge on food. Not yet. Let's just wait, man. Give it a second. And then after the fluids are in, then we're gonna do easily digestible foods, baby foods, or even
baby
banana.
Food was mine.
Yeah.
Baby food. Yeah.
Interesting.
Easy to digest.
It's like that apple cider sauce I would do sometimes.
Yeah.
But baby food was honestly the first thing you would eat.
Wow.
Yeah, right out of the scale, after that hour or whatever time you decide, that's the first thing is the baby food. But what Matt does, which I think is great, it's because right out of the scale, you're just overwhelmed. You want to eat and do things. It's honestly fight week, you don't even think about the fight. You're just worried about, I got to cut the weight. Am I going to make the weight? After you weigh in, you're like, oh, this relief. And then you want to jam food in your system. And then you realize, oh, man, I fight tomorrow. So it's that whole mental game in the process that goes up and down. But what Matt does is important is he has to give guys time. Bottle 1, you drink in the first 15 minutes. Don't drink more than that in 15 minutes because then you're going to be sick. So then he times out when and how much they can have, because otherwise guys are going to get off the scale and chug that first bottle and then they're going to feel sick. So it's about timing the fluid intake as well. Back in the day, 10 years ago, everyone was I never did it personally, but most people were IVing, which is the most efficient way to get water and fluids back. So you could guys were cutting probably up to 20 pounds at that time because they knew they were able to get IV. IV, but now most of the organizations have banned the use of IV because a lot of times it was happening like your training partner would be doing the IVs for you, and I guess it was getting dangerous, and guys were relying on too much weight cutting because they knew they had the IV post. So they removed that. So now it's guys are having to diet more, and this is where Matt's role has become more important.
Yeah, I was surprised because, like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was so important, rehydration. I knew it was important. I didn't know it was that important.
It gets to the point where, like, you have no idea. Like, there was one time I had 4 fighters on a card, and I did all the rehydration, and I did the recovery food, and I had timers on my phone on every 15 minutes. So 1 15-minute would go, and I'd message, okay, make sure that first one's down, wait another 15 minutes before the second shake goes in. Third one, the fourth one, and then like that's how we. And I make sure like I'm basically telling them this is what you got to do. Like drink it now, do not touch that, and like just that's where I really get like.
I've personally heard fighters like again I get sometimes I hear things right just filming them backstage is I've heard fighters say they can't wait till they weigh in so they can have pizza, and I thought maybe that's normal or.
Yeah. Well, I used to do it, but after I sipped for an hour and a half, I went to the baby food, I did a banana, then I started getting in my carbohydrates, and then my night meal used to be pizza, pasta. Most fighters will probably say pasta is one of their favorites, you know? So, I mean, but the problem is it's still, and I heard Matt say it all after the weigh-in, Malcolm, one more day, you can eat whatever you want, you know, like you don't need burgers right now. Like you can have a little bit of pasta, have a little bit of pizza, but don't overdo it. Let's overdo it after the fight, you know? And it's that still, cause you still forget that you have to fight. And the obsession becomes like the fighter obsession becomes one, stepping on the scale to make the weight. So you're on the scale. Okay, I'm almost there. Then post, you're like, how big am I going to get? How big? So the fun of the game is how big and how much water I can put on. So, hey, look, I put on 20 pounds. And then you like show it off that you put on 20 pounds. It's an accomplishment. So guys love showing that. But to me, it didn't make any sense because even if you watch a little bit of the difference between when I fought, for example, Nikki Holtzkin versus when I fought Ambang, in my second glory fight, there was a little difference. When I fought my title fight, I didn't want to rehydrate back too much. Like if I usually on average rehydrate about 15 pounds. But anything more than that, I just felt like my stomach had a layer of bloating on top. I'm moving, I'm seeing jiggly, like I have a superficial layer of water surrounding my body. I'm like, that's not functional. It didn't feel good. It's not, moving well with me. So I didn't really love it. And when I knew I had to fight 5 rounds for the world title, I'm like, I don't want that extra water jiggle on me. It's not muscle mass. It's not anything. And honestly, I felt great not overthinking that I got to jam all this sodium and bloat too much. Because some fighters you see get that really big muffin top bloating because they just don't know how to put it back in properly and they overdo it.
Mm.
And you know what? I still, even though you said the pizza thing, and I think pizza is a good idea, pizza and pasta. But I like I said, I have that after, like the nighttime. But we still want to, like, you're still taking in a lot of fluids. Like I said, like between 6 to like 8, 9 liters of water. But we need that sodium to hold on to that fluid because you need that sodium obviously for the retention, the electrolyte balance, for muscle contraction, all that. There's such a big benefit to having a lot of the sodium in your body. Without bloating, obviously. But yeah, like adding in those high sodium foods, like what I do is a little bit of what I do is like I'll give them little snacks at the end of the day, at the end of the night on weigh-in day, just like a little bit of snacks to enjoy, like little pretzels, little things like that. Just kind of like, hey, let's get high sodium foods in there so that you can like retain some of that water you're drinking, right? Mm-hmm. And like the pizza's still a good idea. Like every time I always account with all the fighters, I always account for the weigh-in day dinner. Because everyone wants to have a dinner with their team, and I've done it. We've done it all the time.
Mandatory.
It's mandatory. And I always account for the amount of carbs that they're eating with that meal. And I say, okay, I know you're going out. I tell them either I'm making their recovery food, or I'm recommending what they should eat. But I always leave like maybe like 80 to 100 grams of carbs for that meal for them.
So one of the biggest problems when fight week, because this is all about fight week we're talking about, is the issue of not having the luxury of having your own food in your own kitchen. I mean, you have to rely on going out to eat a lot of times. I mean, most hotels you go to won't have a kitchen. And really, you have so many things you're going to bring. A lot of fighters hire the nutritionists. They bring the hot plate and they could make food. They go up. But when you're in fight week, as a fighter, fight week is basically, let's be realistic. Most people who are listening to this aren't fighting in the UFC. Yeah. So you're going to basically get flown in on the day before weigh-in, if that. And then you have to rehydrate and cut using food from restaurants. So like literally you're walking into, a restaurant saying, hey, can you get me chicken with no seasoning and vegetables on the side? Don't put anything on the vegetables. What about salt or butter, sir? No, don't touch any of that. Yeah. Can I get rice on the side, but only half a cup of rice? Like you're asking restaurants to make things for you. I've been try to go to Japan and ask for chicken with no sodium. Can I have, no carbs? So basically when I was with my dad, basically what I had to do was go to like one of the Korean hibachi sets, and I would just cook like a little pieces of chicken and vegetables. It's so expensive, but at least I know what I'm eating. I'm not going to a restaurant where I can't even ask them. They don't speak English, and I'm trying to pick something from a menu. Like, that to me was one of the biggest challenges. You eat something all the time. You're consistent. You eat, your eggs, your toast, a certain type of toast, some cheese, the certain breakfasts. But everything changes then the 2-3 days before the fight. So that's what's one of the biggest frustrations, when you're traveling, especially internationally.
Thankfully, I know that post-COVID in UFC, they make the food for you. Like you arranged with a nutritionist over there to make Malcolm's food.
Yeah, so Trifecta is who provides the food for them, and luckily, like I got in contact with them. They were helping me all the way through, even through fight camp. Like they were letting me know, or I was letting them know, like the amount of calories that Malcolm was taking in, so that when we got to fight week, they knew exactly what to give him, and like I gave them some preferences, and they made the adjustments as needed, and it was amazing.
So you got pretty lucky with that type of stuff.
Yeah, and what Joe was saying with, and I recently just found this out. I did this for one of my fighters who's fighting in XFC, the lightweight tournament. Was it Scott Hudson? So basically, he was going out to Atlanta to fight. And I'm like, damn, I was like, how are we going to do this? I was like, he was going out for fight week. So I found out recently that you can travel with ready-made food. So what I did is I made the food for him, fight week food, and I put it in a cooler for him. I put ice packs, make sure it's all good. But the one thing that you have to provide to them, obviously, the one thing we found out is you can't travel with, if you want to travel with fruits, they have to be in the original packaging. You can't put them in a Tupperware; they throw them out. But as long as you have the receipts of all the foods that you have in the cooler, then they'll allow you to take it. They even allow you to take it on with you, like as a carry-on.
I always wondered that.
Yeah, so that's something new that I just found out, and I experimented with it, and it works. So for like the fighters listening to this, you can actually make the fight week food and take it with you, and making sure that you just keep the receipts. Actually go online and get the document printed out where it says that you can bring the food with you.
Yeah, the
just
TSA website.
Yeah,
sure.
you show them proof so that they know that you did the homework, and then look, I can bring this food. So you don't have to worry. Like you said, you don't have to go to a restaurant. You don't have to like try to go around. It's like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm freaking out.
It's impossible to find good food on the road.
And that matches your macromat's, his calculations. It's difficult.
And where does that go back to? It goes back to that emotional distress. And where does that tie into? That ties into what happens in the fight. Because in the fight, you might get a little more tired. Because guess what? All fight week, you're wondering, Monday I woke up, what am I eating? Tuesday I woke up, what am I eating? Wednesday I woke up, what am I eating?
With it's another thing to think about outside, other than the fight. It's a lot of stress on your head.
You shouldn't, man. There's one job you have is you have to exist for 15 minutes in a cage. That's what your only job is.
Yeah.
That's it.
One area I wanted to touch on, I think it's one of the last areas of your job, is fight day nutrition. I mean, I personally loved a big breakfast in the morning. And then after that big breakfast, I kind of like to walk around, move around, and let the food digest. And then I really wasn't hungry after, and I would go to snacks at that point. I mean, I think this is where everyone's individual. I've had some fighters who get very anxious fight night and don't like to eat at all that day and like to have little snacks. And I know some fighters who like to eat 3 big meals before they fight. What do you recommend? What do you usually do for fight day?
So I always, and like I said, like individualized, we'll always ask the fighter, like what, like the preferences. And what I've seen, and I use this for myself as well, like when I get like the exact or close to the exact amount of carbohydrates that they're taking in post weigh-in to fight day, I usually give 2/3 of that on weigh-in day. And I do that for myself, and a lot of the fighters actually they prefer this now. They do 2/3 of the carbs on weigh-in day because they can get more in, right? Because on fight day, it's 1/3 of the carbs. Because even like same thing, I get a little anxious before a fight. Obviously, it's a goddamn fight, so they don't want to eat that much. So they'll get up and they'll have a nice big breakfast, and maybe they'll have like a light lunch, and then once the 5-hour mark hits of before you're about to fight, 5 hours before you fight, we cut off meals completely. They have little snacks, dried fruit, bananas, like rice cakes, all that kind of stuff, if they want it. But yeah, we keep the foods a little bit lower on fight day, but high on weigh-in day. Like even on weigh-in night before, like when you go to bed, like you'll feel slightly bloated because of the amount of food you ate. But then when you wake up, obviously your body realigns and you feel good, you feel energized, you're ready to go. So I found the 2/3 method, 1/3 method works perfectly. I do it for myself. I've done it with the last like 10 fighters I work with. They love it.
And one of the old school ways, remember traveling, didn't make our food. We'd literally go to Subway, buy a foot-long sub, chop it up in 4, and I would eat a quarter of a sub literally every 2-3 hours, or whenever I wanted, I would eat little quarters of the sub. That was my fight week meal, like fight day meal. So, I mean, a little different. The big breakfast, then a sub cut in 4. That was the fight day routine for us.
And the biggest thing I'll stress, and it's not giving away too many secrets, it's like, like I say, it's like, what's one more day? Like the main foods you want to eat are straight up the simple carbs. Okay, whatever sources you like. Don't like fatten yourself up with high sugar, high fat, like cookies, desserts, any of that crap, or try to get like fried foods, dairy. Like you don't need that much cheese. You don't need that much fried foods. Fried chicken's not a good idea. Like you don't need high protein. You don't need a lot of vegetables. You need just basic like fuel for you to go into combat, which is just simple carbohydrates. Don't worry about the fiber. Okay, don't worry about the protein. Don't worry about the fats. Yeah, it's good to add those into your meals as it spruces up the meals a little bit, makes them enjoyable. But you don't need a lot of it. Like I see guys like mowing down chicken, like crazy amounts of chicken. I'm like, why are you eating so much chicken? You just weighed in. Like you should be eating white breads, white rices, potatoes, like rice cakes. Those certain things, those are the things you should be eating, not chicken, not avocados. Like, I don't know what you're doing. Yeah, why are you having so much with that?
I was going to say, you're a big believer in white breads and white rices.
Yeah. For combat athletes, for training, because you know what, we're burning that off. Like we're not sedentary individuals where we're just gonna sit there and like we're just gonna let it like turn into fat. No, that's not how it works. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because I was really surprised when you learn the first thing about nutrition, they say go to whole grains, go to brown rices and quinoas and stuff like that. So when Matt was adding that to the fighters, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's because like for fighters, we want to make sure that like they're already getting a certain amount of fiber into their diet, and you know what, a little bit too much fiber can just like cause gut distress, so I take that into account. So if I notice a fighter's intake is like, if we're at 35 to 38 grams of fiber a day, it's like, if I add any more fiber, that guy's going to be bloated and he's going to be uncomfortable and gassy. So it's like, okay, let's add in, instead of the whole grain breads, let's add in the white breads. Let's add in the white rice. He should be fine. He's going to burn that off. It's not going to cause him. It's not going to cause any issues metabolically. He's going to be fine. He's working out 2 times a day. This guy's like putting in work. So I'm not worried about that. Will I give that to my Gen Pop client? No. I'm going to give them more whole grains. It's going to be more satiable to have those kind of foods.
You know what the best is? We're gonna replay this. So next time Matt's cutting weight, because usually when Matt cuts weight, I have to be the guy watching over him. Yeah. So like as he says, like when I have to wake up at 5 a.m., I literally put him in the bath. I lay back down and I go to sleep and I put a timer on my watch. Joe. How much time we got? I got no clue. 5 more minutes. Oh, okay. 5 minutes later. How much time? No clue again. 1 more minute, Matt. And I'm sleeping.
And then cut scene. And then you go my process where I'm in the bathroom with my fighter going, how you doing, man? You go, all right, what do you want? Do you want to play some music? I'll play whatever music they want, okay?
Yeah, but I had to cut weight by myself. I barely had anyone there. And now these guys want me to hold their hands while they're cutting weight? Like, get out of here.
Joe, what's that funny story we had in Calgary about, remember, this is before I knew about cutting weight, any of that nonsense, and I was fighting for Trevor Smandage's show.
And you got upset in the bathroom?
I got so upset, and I started hitting my head on the
No, get me out of here. I left the bathroom, Danny, I started laughing so hard. I was like, suck it up, Matt. Just keep going. I'm laughing. You're fine. Couple more minutes. I was dying of laughing.
I couldn't do any more. I just don't know why. It was before any of the knowing how to weight cut whatnot. And I was just hitting my head on the back. I was like, Joe, I can't do this, man. Call Trevor. I can't make the weight. And like, he left the bathroom and went and walked. I didn't know what he was walking for. I was like, Joe, I need you here, man. I need you. What are you doing?
Yeah. Big suck. Get out of here. Suck it up.
Speaking of missed weight, how would you react if one of your fighters missed weight? That's a question to Joe. And a question to Matt is, how much of that is mental and how much of that is physical?
Well, I just blame it on Matt now because all my guys will go through him. And so Matt gets in trouble. But no, I would... the problem is that guys don't know how to cut weight. And I mean, if anything, it's a little bit of my fault. If they don't know how to cut weight and I didn't offer them the tools and the way to do it, it's kind of my fault for not helping them. But also, if you're fighting, you should kind of do your own research and practice and ask questions and to kind of do those things. But I would be very disappointed. But again, it's a team effort in order to cut weight. And this is why Matt's our team nutritionist, you know, and that's why we have every angle covered here. Like to have the perfect camp and then have a terrible weight cut and fight terribly. It's just it was a missing link in the picture. So to have Matt not only fight for us and to be able to do this is a huge advantage for the team.
Yeah, no, and then it would definitely be my responsibility. But my responsibility starts 8 weeks out, where I'm trying to get the body mass of the fighter down as low as possible. And like I said before, it's like I only want to like when we say acute weight loss, that means like quick weight loss, like water weight. Like chronic weight loss is throughout the fight camp. That's long term. Acute weight loss is what you cut on fight week. And the percentage I want to cut out is about 6%, 6 to 8%, no more than that, right? Because that's gonna impede like the person's recovery and other issues. But like if we go any higher than that, then I put that on me because like I didn't do the research, I didn't do enough things during fight camp to bring that guy's body mass down to a point where we know that it's going to be a safe weight cut.
It also depends time of the fight, how long they've had to know, and if they weren't doing it and we got mad at them, like, how come you haven't been doing this? So, I mean, it is a lot on the fighter. It's their responsibility. I mean, my responsibility is to make sure I give you the right coaching, the right corner abilities, the right skills. I shouldn't have to overly hold your hand when it comes to weight cutting and nutrition, but we're there to help. I mean, you have to think like why I'm not so like sympathetic for these guys and being all there, like me leaving and laughing at Matt, because a lot of times like I cut weight. Like I fought Mehdi Baghdad, you know, UFC vet, you know, I fought him at 160 pounds. I've never made 160. I never got under 165 pounds. And all of a sudden now I had no coach there with me. They met me on fight day, on weigh-in. They met me at the weigh-in. So I had to cut 15 pounds of water in 24 hours by myself. I had no one watching me, no one monitoring me if I passed out in the bathtub. Like, it was scary. But, I mean, I did it. It was my life. This is what I want to do. So, I mean, a lot of times, like, you got to dig deep. How bad do you want it? And this is why a lot of times I'm like, just suck it up, you know, which I could be a little bit nicer at those times, but I've gone through it. This is what you have to do sometimes to go through these tough situations to be able to, you know, perform on fight day.
Is there a such thing as a good excuse for missing weight?
If something like clinically like a clinical problem happens, like it's out of my knowledge, like area, then yeah, that can happen. Like if there's something wrong like internally that like I'm not aware about, that could happen. But other times,
that's the example of female in their menstrual cycle. I mean, that alone, like if you look at science, when a female is on her period, she'll have water retention. So I know a lot of women skip their periods when they're stressed and when they're working hard, and all that anxiety and fight week. I'm pretty sure, I'm not experienced in it, but women would skip their periods if they would fight week or something. But still, there is that bloating the week before, and I think that would be maybe an area that you can kind of understand. That would be one of my answers. And there's
a lot of things that I want young fighters to understand too. Like Joe says, yeah, there's times to say suck it up, but then there's also times where someone like me comes in and I know when to pull the plug. I haven't done it yet, but like it's knowing when to pull the plug on when the guy should stop cutting weight. So what happens is if the guy's just not sweating and he's in the bath or he's in the sauna, and like 7, 8, 9 minutes go by. This guy ain't sweating. He's like, okay, we're running into some issues now. Your body just basically went into a defense mode where it's going to stop water from coming out to save your life, essentially. And then what ends up happening a little bit later after that is that you'll start to feel tingling in your extremities. So like your fingers and your toes will start to tingle. A lot of guys don't realize that. So having someone like me, if I'm asking my guy, hey man, how's everything? Like he's not sweating. Oh, like I feel tingling in my like fingers, let's say. I'd have to make the call. I'd have to say, okay, we got to cut this. I'm sorry. Like I've never done that before. Like it's only been about two years and a bit that I've been doing this. But if it comes to it, I'm gonna have to make that call, and that's just the way it is. And that won't be on me not giving them the right guidance throughout fight camp. But like I said, that could be from like a short notice fight.
And one of the big issues now, and we heard Israel Adesanya say it in his last fight, is they don't feel that there's a big enough penalty now for fighters making weight. If you come from a lot of money and you're okay and you don't rely on fight purses, to give up 20, 30% of your purse, a lot of times you're like, okay, I'm not making that much anyways, or take it this way. I'd rather, if you think about it, would you rather give up 10 grand and have a win on your record, or struggle, have a chance to be depleted, have to go to a hospital, get rehydrated, and have a chance to lose? You'd probably rather give up 10 to 15 grand because a win on your record is more important than that money at that time. So a lot of these guys who don't care about money are missing by 2-3 pounds, not going back into the sauna to want to cut this weight, and then they're the first ones on the scale. Like if you have 2-3 hours to make the weight and you step on the scale and you're 2-3 pounds off, get back into the tub. You know, like I used to travel with a sauna suit because every scale is different. It might be a pound here, a pound there, but if I step on the scale and I see I'm off, right away, I'm putting on a sauna suit and I'm starting to skip, I'm starting to run. You have to make the weight. But a lot of fighters are now just opting out of it. There's times where I'm like, oh, I made weight for sure. I mean, all of a sudden we go down to this, and these are not glory fights, so you don't have these big luxuries and opportunities sometimes, but you're like, I didn't even bring a sauna suit. I thought I made weight. We were asking the front desk for garbage bags, and I'm putting myself in garbage bags, running up and down stairs, doing pads. I've gotten into cars and turned the heaters on. Like, you do what you have to do to make weight, and I just think this, if it's not enough consequence, a lot of guys are just like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Screw it, you know?
Izzy mentioned 90% of your purse.
Ooh, not 90. Well, I mean, make weight. It's part of the fight. But what's fair though, okay? Because there's a big part of it that I agree with him. It's like no one ever looks back and looks on the record. Oh, this guy was 4 pounds and he missed weight. 4 pounds is a lot in fighting.
They look at the W or L.
They look at the win or the loss. They don't look back. That's why I'm saying that 10 grand sometimes to just give it up, not to continue to cut, is worth it. Because they're like, yeah, I feel good now. If I keep going, I'm going to feel like crap and I might get knocked out. And everyone knows if you overcut and you don't rehydrate, the biggest problem you can have is, not enough fluid surrounding your brain, so you're more susceptible to headshots, to concussions, to getting knocked out. So a guy's like, I'd rather keep that, give you 10 grand. I don't care. If I win, I'm still going to double up my purse, and I only think you're getting 20% of show bonus. I don't even think they get the full.
So that's why I say make it 50%. Reason being is because
good.
I think 50 is good. Reason being is because most guys will make this decision. They say, listen, okay, if I don't make weight, like if I don't want to get back in the tub, I'm lazy, whatnot, I don't want to push for it, I lose 20% of my purse. Okay, but in MMA they do show and win money. It's like, but if I get back in that bath and I like deplete myself even more, and like I said, I'm more susceptible to headshots, I don't replenish enough, I can lose 50%. What are you going to choose, 20% or 50%? I'm going with that 20%.
Good point.
Yeah,
so if they make it 50 across the board, either way, you got to get your ass back in that goddamn tub.
And I know you can't get bonuses, which again is fair, but I mean, you should give the bonus, and then give half of that bonus to the other guy or something. It's like, oh, he doesn't get a bonus, but oh, you just knocked out Buddy, missing weight. Like, give the guy some money, man. The guy allowed you to continue to fight. Otherwise the fight could have been off. Like, he allowed you to fight. He allowed you to win. He allowed you to get the knockout. Give the guy some money, man. I mean, it's not enough of a penalty now for guys to kind of, cut that extra weight, which is sad. I mean, you're losing the fight mentality. I mean, that's why I'm saying it comes down to the fighter mentality. You have to make it. That's why I'm saying Matt's like, oh, when I laugh at him, it's just some guys will just do it and get into it and not complain. Some guys like to complain, so you have to know the person. But stricter penalties is going to have to do something. It has to do. And I even think with these groin shots, I think if you automatically take a point on a groin shot, guys will be so hesitant to throw it. It's not fair. I'm sorry. Like, to get hit in the groin and then lose half of your gas tank because you can't, and then all of a sudden buddy just pounds on you and win. You're like, come on. Like, how is that fair at that point too, you know? So there's got to be some of these little differences and I mean, but the weight cutting, I think it starts from that. You have to give stricter penalties. Have to.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of groin shots and stuff like that, I guess it's just fighting dirty, right? Some people can hit you in the back of the head and you get a warning, but you're already hurt.
Yeah, already hurt at that point. You're already rocked,
dizzy,
or you're already dizzy.
And you're just like,
and then you look like a punk if you don't want to continue.
Yeah.
Oh, where's your warrior spirit? I'm like, this is a sport. Half of my money's on the line, and now all of a sudden I got low blowed, or I got hit in the back of the head, I took an illegal knee, and now I look bad if I don't want to continue the fight.
Which is what I always wondered. It's like when someone gets hit in the groin and they're like sitting there, you got 5 minutes. The ref will tell you got 5 minutes, and the crowd starts booing.
What do you want me to do?
They're like, what are you booing at? I don't know.
They want the fighters to go back in and keep going.
Crazy.
That's because the fighters, they want blood.
Yeah.
That's why they don't want to see any grappling. They don't want to see any of that crap.
Yeah.
They want to see blood. They want to see like people getting knocked out. It's like, I don't know. So wait, you think groin shots and like an eye poke automatically should be a point?
I think eye pokes for sure.
Okay.
Maybe not. It's got to be. I don't believe in a point system. I believe in more like you should be able to win a round. Like if it's a close round, I think, and it's like, oh, I don't know who should have won. I don't think it should be 10-9. It can be 10 to 9.5. You can give a half points. I think a half point system could be a little bit better. So if I dominate the round, 10-9. If it was a close round, 10 to 9.5. You use that decimal point system. Like if it doesn't have to be, just because it's a good win, doesn't have to be 10-8. Why can't it be 10-8.5? It wasn't fully, you're in between. So giving those maybe a half point for the first one, and then you take a full point, something like that. I think like a decimal point system could help that out.
But like segue on that one, what do you think about the open scoring?
I don't mind open scoring. Glory has open scoring. We've had it for the last couple of years.
Do coaches know in Glory?
I think it's on the screen and stuff like that.
It's on the
okay.
I didn't know that.
But I mean, now they're actually Danny's been with Invicta where they actually do it. I think Kansas has it where you see the corner actually show the scorecard on an iPad to the corners, I believe, right?
Yeah, and then the fighter talks to the coach beforehand, if they want to know or not.
Yeah. I mean, as a commentator for Glory, I loved it because it took away me having to give my opinion on the fight. When you watch a fight, the first thing you think about is I'm looking at my notes for a point. Like, I'll be first one to say it. If you look back at Glory even posted it when Rico and Badr fought, when Badr gave that left head kick to Rico and Rico dropped, the place went bananas.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking at my notes.
No,
I was
you
looking
didn't
at
see
my
it?
notes. No, I was like, all of a sudden Todd goes, bah!
Oh my god!
And then I look up, and
What
then
a
I was
moment.
like, I missed it,
Dude.
I missed
Dude,
it. So everyone was ripping on the
wow.
comments. Joe's was on his phone. Joe's swiping on Tinder. Joe's on his reading emails.
Bro.
Like, I had looked up and I was like, I didn't even know how to react. If we'll rewatch it after, Danny, and you'll
Wow.
see the rate. Like when Todd yells. And then my reaction when I look up, I totally missed it.
Oh no!
Totally
I had a
missed it.
photographer right with me because you know how much media there was that day, right? The guy was right beside me. I went so ballistic
I missed
when that happened that he was like, "Whoa, you really love this sport, huh?"
One of the biggest moments in kickboxing history I missed by looking down. I was trying to pick up a stat, like, okay, there was nothing. Let me look down for a quick sec to maybe re-reference a past fight or someone he fought. As soon as I looked down, boom. I was so upset.
Oh man,
I kind of wish you were on
And
your
I had to
phone.
kind of
sucks.
pretend like, because my job is like, oh, what a head kick, and I was like, oh, what a shot. I don't know what shot it is at this point. I'm just like probably
the
making
truth
it
comes
up.
out. The truth comes out. It's
Just like-
acting.
but I'm
You have
telling
to
you,
act,
man,
eh?
it's like, but when you put it, people actually on the Glory page commented like, Joe missed that totally. So they did call me out. People did see it that I missed
But
it.
okay, so for the people that called you out, you weren't on Tinder.
No. I was looking at a reference, but it's funny though.
I think it would be hilarious if your phone was on the table
Just
and you'd
swipe
be
it.
like, I just want to know what this girl looks like. Shit, you missed the head
quickly
kick,
check.
man. You missed the Badr head kick for this girl.
But man, I was so disappointed. And So disappointed.
Wow.
So next time, I know we got Badr fighting Benjiman Adegbuyi in December 19th. It's going to be a little bit different for me. I know we just talked about all this UFC stuff with no crowd, but I'm actually going to be commentating Badr Hari versus Benjiman Adegbuyi from a studio in New Jersey. So this is my first time not calling live fights.
How does that work? Like, is it lag-free, live feed to you?
We're going to find out in a week.
Because wouldn't that be weird if it's like this, like a second of a lag? You know, someone gets knocked out and all of a sudden
or
it's like...
maybe it airs a little bit. Maybe that little lag and then they air it 10 seconds later or something. I don't know.
It's just like, but the coordination of you saying
I don't know.
it. Like,
that's me asking you that question. I don't know.
I don't work in the truck. I don't work in the truck. But that would be very interesting to see.
Donnie, are you going to be there? Or
no.
Are you going?
No, I'm not going to be there. Yeah, unfortunately.
Because we can't. I mean... There's no audience. There's no real travel. Like, the only reason I'm calling it in New Jersey is because Todd Grisham is American. He's my broadcast partner, and Americans can't go to Europe now. So my boss, Bill Borson, we have to meet in New Jersey and just call it from there. So it'll be an interesting experience. Like, when Badr Hari fights, like, it's like Danny mentioned earlier, it's this environment, the excitement, the insanity of the crowd, the noise when he comes out, the goosebumps you get, and
now it's gonna be empty.
It's gonna be empty. It's gonna be.
So that's gonna be weird.
I don't know. We're gonna. I don't know. Like, but when Badr fights, I'm usually so loaded in. I'm so excited that I'm kind of curious to see how it is, and we can do a podcast about it after to kind of see how that experience was.
So the comparison, because you were a part of both of these, the Badr with the Moroccan fans, and then your first fight with in Turkey. With Gökhan being Saki being the main event. Which one? Obviously, I probably know what's the answer is going to be, but like, what the intensity between both?
It's the Moroccans are nuts, man. The Moroccans are just insane.
Yeah,
they're just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way they come out, how passionate they are with their people, how much they support them. Like, it's crazy. I know the Turkish are like big fans as well, like when it comes to soccer and their athletes. But I just think the Moroccans. And it's being Badr Hari, man, like, that guy's still just,
it's like
everywhere.
That little crew that comes with Khabib every time he fights. Khabib fights, and in the UFC he has a little crew like his Khabib army. It's like that, but like times 30,000 or whatever. Like 30,000 of these guys.
Didn't these Moroccans like stop the fight from like starting?
In the first one.
Yeah,
they
ran the craze. People were throwing things.
They charged the ring. So the second collision, they had to build barriers. And it was like a double layer barrier, and there were like insane amount of guards. Insane. And in the production room, there's talking about how can we create a video that tells people not to fight, because they were so scared that the fans were going to fight once Badr came out. It's going to be Badr fans versus Rico fans, right? And they're going to fight in the stands, so they had to create a video.
Yeah, it's the passion, man, that Moroccan passion behind Badr.
That's how insane it is,
I'm telling you, Badr to me is like, when you see him, it's like you get that Conor McGregor vibe from him.
Oh, yeah. I think he's the worst. I think Conor's a lot of like, like just general fans that love his energy.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll go to war with him.
No.
The way these guys will go to war for Badr.
You should have seen Badr. We just did a press conference with him yesterday, and the lines, he's just the king of the one-liner confidence. Like, he's so good. He's like, respect. There's no respect. Just violence. Just violence. And I was just like, that's a scary man. There's no respect in this. It's just pure beatings and violence and knockouts. And he just looks dead right in the camera and just like violence. And I was like, man, I'm scared.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That guy, he's something special, man. You got to think at the generation and how long he's done it for. That guy walked into, K1 at 18 years old, fighting on the biggest names of the sport at 18 years old. And to create that much hype now, being 35, I think he'll be 36 years old this year, or just about to.
Looking just as good.
Incredible,
Collision 2, his performance was incredible.
But the way Badr fights is Badr fights in moments. This is what you'll see. But when his moment is just that good, it's like he might take shots. Like when he was fighting Rico was hitting his leg a little bit, moving him a little bit. Badr was eating shots. But when Badr decided it was time to attack, hide, shell up, because he's come in with the intent to kill. It's not the intent to hurt you or knock you out. Yeah. When he attacks, it's one of the most scariest things in the world. He might block, but when it's time to go, he's whipping punches, hooks, uppercuts, angles. Like, he just goes with full intent. And again, with Matt all the time, I said, if you're going to commit to a combination, all in or don't do it at all. If you hesitate that little bit, there's an opportunity for a counter, you second guess, all in or all out. And when Badr attacks, he has such bad intentions that's what makes him so dangerous. Even Rico's like block, block, block. Then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. Like at one point, like I said it on the broadcast, I'm like, I have never seen shots like this. Two heavyweights sitting in a pocket, whipping as hard as they can.
And it's like different because like Badr's not like, he's not like built like Rico. He doesn't look like an action figure, but that dude hits like, it's insane. Every time he hits, you can see it hurts.
Yeah, that attacking style, like I'm saying, it's in moments. Like you're not going to see him win, score points, touch, move for a little bit maybe, but at the time is when it's time to go, he's going to explode with 100% power, 100% confidence, and that's why he's finishing rate in that first round is so high. Can you handle his power is the question. It's like the Mike Tyson. Like you come in, he moves, he gets ready, but when it's time to go and Badr unloads, it's like, can you handle that power?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you got to think like for a big boy too, like, I mean, you look at Rico, you look at him, you would think Rico would just outpower him.
I thought that.
Me too, even in the striking. But I mean, I just think Rico was just that consistent. He's that consistent power that boom, hit you with the jab, chop your leg, punch you in the leg, hit your body. Like he just constantly just picks away at you and just systematically damages you.
And yeah, you're not going to outdo him.
No,
for
he's
5
going to
rounds.
outpressure you. He's going to outblock you. He's going to keep wearing you down.
Yeah, he's going to wear you down.
And then eventually, he's probably going to finish you in the later rounds. But you don't really see Rico come out with that aggressive power from the start, you know? Where Badr's all about action, first round finishes, attacking. So that's where, like, when Rico and Badr are fighting, it's like Badr has that advantage in that first 2 rounds. But as the fight goes on, you would think that, you know, the advantage goes to Rico. But this fight, I'm excited, man. We've seen Benjiman Adegbuyi get dropped a few times. We saw him get dropped by Sadiq, but we also seen him have good knockout power with good jabs. So if he can kind of keep Badr at the end of his jab, kind of pick his points, and just kind of wear him out, I think, you know, he'll have a decent chance.
It'd be a huge shocker if he won.
Is he still with? Is he still in the Rico camp?
I think so.
Okay, so he's getting like trained. Obviously, he's getting the strategies from Rico and the team. So.
As Badr said in the press conference, he said something along the lines. He was like, "Yeah," he goes, "Benjiman and Rico can go to bed together, and they could dream about beating me." Badr, man, like he's so good, so confident.
Well, it's a matter of how much did that,
how he sells himself.
How much did that injury affect him, and how much of it is going to affect him?
Yeah,
you know.
But the problem is like. As a journalist, okay, like you would think, okay, I'm the commentator. You have all the people asking him, like you want to ask him those questions, right? But a part of you're like, man, I'm kind of scared to ask him these questions.
Dude
like you don't want to ask him those questions because, bro, I've already said it to you. Like how many times do I got to say it?
Yeah.
What did one person was asking him a question? The first person, if you watch that press conference, which I highly recommend you do, and the first person, he was like, "Did I stutter? Did I stutter?" He told the journalist if he stuttered like 3-4 times. Wow. So like at that point, I'm like, man, I don't want to ask him anything else because he's going to freak out. He's going to snap. He's going to freak out. So like if I talk to him next week, we're doing our Zoom pre-fight interviews. I'm like, I got to be very selective with the questions because for me, I kind of want to ask him and be like, all right, like how bad was the injury? What did it affect you? What was it exactly? But he won't get into those things. I don't care about the past. Now I'll show you now. Like he always puts a question on how he's going to do well that night. So a few questions. Like my biggest question with Badr for me is understanding that he's changed a little bit. And so have I with my training. So part of me wants to be like, okay, Badr, like before you were heavy deadlifting, probably sparring, knocking your opponents out, taking big shots. But now I see him doing like rehab stuff, mobility, single leg deadlifts. He's doing more functional, lifestyle, type of training that could last him a while and for life. So those are the types of things I want to ask him, but I just don't know how open he is to answering those for me. But I really want to sit there like, man, you're talking to a legend. I want to pick his brain about the training, the mental aspects. Like, how does he prepare for a fight? He's so close, honestly, off, like closed doors. You don't see anything. I want to know how often he spars, what types of training he does.
He's earned that respect because of his legendary stat. He's earned that respect. He's the one guy that even in the production side of things, it's like if Badr Hari says he's going to show up at 3 o'clock and he shows up at 3:30, you don't say anything.
No,
first of all, you just go.
You just wait.
You act as if it's 3 o'clock.
Yeah, but 30 minutes is not. He's usually later than 30.
Yeah,
minutes.
he's usually later than 30 minutes. But also, it's like if he's there, you better be ready.
Yeah.
Like he's the one guy you don't keep waiting, and he's the one guy that you almost like you don't poke the bear. You don't poke him. You know, like every other fighter, we're taught to like, you know, hype up the fight. So ask the questions to like make him talk shit.
Scared every question.
But Badr Hari's like, okay, if that's what he gives us, that's what he gives us.
Joe's got to preemptively go, okay, don't be mad. But
still, like,
this question I have for you.
But my favorite Badr story for me was two. I got two Badr stories. The first one is never met him. I'm calling his first fight ever. Nervous to do it. You know, I want to make sure everything's on point. I'm killing this call for him because the last thing I want him to, I say something wrong or bad on it, then he's kind of hates me. I want to create a relationship with him, you know. So he does, we're doing rehearsals the day before this time because it was a big show. And he was doing his pre-fight little thing in the ring, feeling it out. He was there with Big Mike. All of a sudden, he comes around, comes down the ring, comes by the commentator's booth and sees me and Todd. He's like, Valtellini. And I was like, hey, Badr, what's up, man? Nice to meet you kind of thing. He grabs me.
How cool you played it there.
Yeah. No, it was. I was like, yeah, man, cool. He's like, whatever. I was cool. I had to.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He grabs my bicep. He's like, pretty good. So I gave it a nice little flex to make sure it felt good. You know, he's like, you're in good shape kind of thing. He's like, but I heard you think Rico's going to win. And he looked at me dead stare in the eye. He's like, you think Rico's going to win? It's like, yeah.
Man.
I was like, well, yeah. I was like, I think I would be a bad journalist if I said you were going to win. I'm like, you haven't fought in years. This guy is undefeated in the last 5 years, dominating everyone. I said I would think I'd be a bad journalist or an analyst to say that kind of thing. Yeah. And he just kind of like just a nod and kind of went off and kind of thing. The next time I saw him, his next fight, I think at that point he was fighting Hezdi Gergis. And then I guess at one point he maybe did a little bit more research on me and he complimented and he said he really liked the YouTube videos.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that to me, he made up for the bicep grab. He did say my bicep was big. Okay, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty nuts.
The YouTube channel is definitely
to think that
to
like
hear that, to him
we
say it was good.
We made something and Badr Hari watched it.
Yeah, I'm down.
That's freaking crazy.
I was really excited to hear that. I was like, right. But he really complimented my style and really liked my heart, he said. And he goes, the videos were good. He says he likes the videos. So pretty cool.
Well, you do have a similar style of like going there and kill.
The relentless, the pressure.
Same with Matt. I mean, you got how many knockouts now? You're undefeated in MMA, right?
Yeah. Out of like amateur and MMA, like amateur and pro, it's 7 out of 8.
Yeah. So it's like
decent.
That style, it's the Bazooka style.
Yeah, go in there, finish.
Go in there and finish. Right? Yeah.
Go in there and finish.
At the end of the day, man, it's like it's entertainment. As much as we're gonna call it like we're athletes, we are because we are some of the best athletes out there. But it's like at the end of the day, we are entertainers, man. Like people want to see finishes, whether it's a submission, whether it's a knockout. Let's go out and do it, man. And that's kind of like why I love the style, and that's why what I try to do every time. It's like I'm gonna try to kick your head off your goddamn shoulders. Yeah. That's basically my plan. Or I'm gonna try to take your leg away. That's it.
And that's something I know Joe preaches. I've seen you preach a lot in training camp, even talking about killing people and that pressure and that style. It's something that you can't really teach.
You have to want to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
It sucks because we don't want to, but in that mentality, you have to want it really bad. My biggest mistake in my earlier career was creating too much tension in my mind, and it was getting me too worked up. Like, it sounds stupid to say out loud, but I was creating scenarios in my head. Like, I'll give an example, but I won't go as crazy, but like, this guy killed my dog. I don't even have a dog, I don't own a dog, but this guy, if I did, he would have killed it, and then I've got to get mad at him because he killed my dog, right?
Yeah.
You can't kill my dog.
I think you've used that example
You can't kill my hypothetical dog. Like, what are you talking about, Yeah. But stuff like that, and then I would get overworked, and people got to remember, I was a full-time high school teacher when I won my world title. Yeah. So it's not like I had the luxury to wake up, train, nap during the day, plan out meals. No, I was at work at 7:45 a.m. I finished at 3:30 p.m. and then went straight to the gym. So during my daytime, I didn't really think of the fight. I had to think about the kids. I worked with kids with autism and special needs. Like, they needed full-time attention all the time. Yes, my mind goes up and down. I think of the fight, but then all of a sudden, some kids are getting into an argument. Some kid got into trouble. Someone's not listening. I have to do something for work. So being busy during the day kind of helped me not get nervous about the fight, which I think was a good thing to have, to keep your mind busy. If you're just all into the fight, like, let's be honest, you train for 3 hours of the day? What are you going to do for the rest of it? Like you might do 2 sessions, maybe 4 hours, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. The rest of the day, it's all thinking of the fight. That's not healthy. It's not healthy to think about this guy all the time. I would only get nervous the day that it's like literally everyone's like, Joe, you're going to Japan next week. You're fighting, Raymond Daniels, Nikki Holtzkin. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll deal with it when I get there almost. I'm just so busy thinking about it. And then the only time I really get nervous is the hour they're like, oh, you got to go. We're leaving to the venue in an hour. Then I was like, oh, man, this is really happening. Okay, all right. I guess I can't leave now. I can't run away.
This is when he kills your hypothetical dog.
Yeah. No, during training, I needed the hypothetical dog. Okay. At this point, I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't have a dog. I hope something happens to this bus on the way there so I don't have to make it to the venue.
No, man, the minute your hands get wrapped, that's when you know it's on. It's like, oh, I can't leave. It's like, okay, we're doing this. You guys are all crazy. Stare. Yeah. It's like, oh, damn it. All right, let's do this.
But guys, I had an enjoyable time talking to you guys.
Yeah,
we almost went to 2 hours here, which is pretty good.
Boom.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Once we start going, we start ranting. But Matt, any shout outs you want to give out before we go here?
No, just anyone listening, just kind of follow me on social media, Instagram. I got the 2 accounts, Matty Spesh. I got beardedbites.ca. Facebook, same thing, Bearded Bites. Twitter, I'm not much on Twitter, but you can follow me on Bearded Bites as well. And that's pretty much my social media plug.
Danny Lau.
My Instagram's DannyWSL. You can follow me there. That's about it.
That's it, man. I just hope people like these videos. I mean, I think this is something that could be good, gets both of our skills working. So, guys, if you like and enjoy these videos, make sure you comment. Encourage, Danny to keep making these. So if Danny decides to not want to do these and you guys aren't nice enough to him, he might stop them. So make sure you guys give him a lot of praise and credit because I enjoy doing this stuff and I just don't have the camera, the technology, and the skills and the time to put this stuff together. And the more people enjoy them, the more people view them, the more you share them, it'll just motivate Danny to keep doing more.
Leave comments, leave questions.
And that's the big thing. I want to use this time to be able to answer questions more. So I'll find a way to be able to, for you guys, I'm sure if you put them the questions below, Danny will get them. And then when we do these podcasts, a lot of times I want to answer these questions. So a little bit of a question and answer mixed with a little bit of rants. A lot of times, like I watch every combat sport. So usually at the end of a UFC event or something, I usually go on some rant or tangent about something fighters weren't doing or something I seen that I wish people would do more of. So those are the times where I just get to rant on my thoughts. I'm a journal person. I actually write martial arts notes on a daily basis. So maybe I open up my journal one day and talk about things, but I just want to keep it open, be able to share my knowledge and to be able to get as much information to you guys as possible. And keep during this pandemic. We're still here in Toronto. We're still locked down here in December. There's talks that we might be moving up to about 5,000 cases a day in January. So I'm assuming we may be locked down here in January. So hopefully we have some time to keep doing these shows and answering questions and see how much information we can give and see where we can go from there. So back to making sure we make Danny happy here so we can do more videos. So thanks everyone for following, continuing to watch Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. We still plan on doing our weekly videos. So make sure you hit that bell notification, stay up to date, and we'll go on from there. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.